Hey, welcome to another episode of Light Cellar Radio. My name is Malcolm Saunders, helping you recreate your relationship to food and accessing the ultimate in everyday nourishment through natural foods. This episode, we dive into the all-important topic of water. You're going to learn some maybe shocking facts about municipal water. I don't lay it on too heavy, but it's a reality that as much as we love the water from the environment that we are in, there are things we can and need to do to upgrade that. We talk about wild water. We talk about different kinds of filters, and this is a really valuable one. So without further ado, jump right in and enjoy. All right, excellent. We are live on Instagram, live on Facebook. We're going to chat water. So important, so essential, so vital. My name is Malcolm Saunders, owner and creative visionary of the Light Cellar, and this is an important topic. So I want to make this a discussion. Go ahead, drop in your comments, your questions down below. And definitely with the heat of the summer, man, and all that smoke in the air, water comes up pretty important, pretty essential for us all as we want to cool down, as we want to refresh. And it was just a couple days ago, I was doing a video and someone saw me on the video reach right from the tap and pour a glass of water. I was making the coconut milk and they're like, wait a minute, is that filtered? And for sure, so that led into the discussion, this conversation about filtered water. A couple of other things came up as well that's led to this moment that I want to share about. Down the hill, just for me, and as well as just near the Light Cellar, doing some reclamation, apparently improving fish habitat. And I had some friends visit. They used to work within the government in kind of fish and wildlife. And they had an interesting comment. And I've heard this before, but it's really cool just to, well, it's not cool, but it was just affirming to hear someone from one of those positions say, yep, this is what's going on. So in Calgary, it is a known fact that the fish populations are decreasing in the Bow River. And this is one of the kind of efforts that they're making right now to try and help recreate the environment, because a lot happened in the flood. That's a factor. But one of the big factors is that there are declining fish populations because of birth control in the water. That's right. And you've seen these things like estrogens in the environment, male fish and amphibians turning female, not being able to reproduce. Well, this is real from what I'm told from these folks that used to work in the government within fish and wildlife, that the populations are decreasing within the Bow River because of, it's one thing that cannot be filtered out of our municipal water supply is pharmaceuticals, birth control specifically. And this is, I'm not blaming anyone, this is not about that, it's just a reality. I know some people choose that, but when we choose those types of things, it ends up into the environment. Stephen Hared Buhner touched upon this in his book, The Lost Language of Plants, and just kind of the devastating effects of things like chemo and radiation. As it passes through our body, it's just going out into the environment. And it's actually one of the most under talked about forms of pollution is the pharmaceuticals that we're taking, because they are so potent. And it's one thing that the city, they admit they cannot be able to remove that from the municipal water supply. So this is what I hear, and as a result, fish populations are declining. So really begs that question, right? How do we make sure that we have access to pure, fresh, high-quality water? So that's what we're going to talk about. It's a big topic, a big subject, and I know when everyone's going to be in their own situation, my goal here was to get on and just kind of help empower and inspire you to be able to access that. And I'll say off the top, I live in Western Canada. I live in Calgary, Alberta, which has some of the most amazing municipal water. Like, unbelievably grateful for how fresh and clean the water is. We are right near the source. It's coming in through the west of Calgary, goes through very other few municipalities and towns. So we really do. As a city, I am so grateful. I've traveled other places in the world, including Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Florida, parts of the UK, and they don't have it as good. They really don't. So we are unbelievably blessed at the level of quality of water that we have. And there are certain things that we still need to do because you can't get out those pharmaceuticals just from municipal tap water. Plus, too, a lot of the infrastructure in a lot of cities is starting to break down, starting to corrode. So even as it goes through its filtration, hits the piping system, and it's getting transported all over the city, and once it hits your tap, even with your own house, how are those pipes, right? Is they're picking up copper, is they're picking up old bits of metal, and of course, chlorine as well. And again, don't want to sound like a snob here. I totally appreciate chlorine. I've traveled in India. I know what water is like when it's untreated. Laura and I, my wife, when we traveled in India, we didn't want to be the tourists going around leaving a trail of plastic bottles. So we took our own little hand pump filter from MEC. This was like 15 years ago. And we literally tried filtering the water in India, and it got clogged very quickly. Both her and I were like super sick. We were adding like oregano to our water. I think that would help, but no, terrible. It was the worst thing ever. So, you know, if you live in North America, you have amazing quality water, and especially if you live where I do in Calgary, it's phenomenal. And some places have it better, some places have it worse. There's a certain reality. So chlorine plays a function, right, to help clean the water, take out those bacteria, because most tap water is recycled, right? It is, meaning it's come through the hydrological cycle, comes through our taps, we drink it, we pee it out, we use it for washing, this, that, the next, industrially, then it goes through a municipal filter, and it's back through the system. And man, we better hope they have some really good filters on those that city water treatment. And yes, it can get out a lot. Yes, it provides it, makes it really safe, but I personally 100% believe that we need to do a little bit more to have access to the best. And sharing with my friends this idea, as they shared with me, that the city can't remove the pharmaceuticals, can't remove the birth control pills. That's kind of just going to lay that as a foundation, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So we got Vivian Martin, hello, on Facebook. We got Sean on there. We've got Misa, we've got Jordan, we've got Deborah, hello, welcome. We're talking water, all important. Just laying a bit of the playing field of where we're at. Can be the best of times, worst of times within a municipal environment, definitely within Calgary. It's wonderful, but it could be better. So what can you do? The first thing I'm going to recommend, and I know everyone has a different situation, so just bear with me as I talk about kind of the penultimate. Let's also talk about what's really practical for you. And again, love to hear your thoughts, your comments. Post them down below at any time as we get into this. So to me, the ultimate experience for water, one of our most vital and essential nutrients, is spring water. Now, who's ever had spring water fresh straight from the source? Unbelievable. I like to give the example. It's like going and picking a carrot out of the ground, an apple off of the tree. This is incomparable as you've had that experience, right? It's like the strawberry right off the plant, you know, the flavor, the freshness, everything is just so phenomenal, and you can't compare it, right? Obviously, I love being able to go to the farmer's market. I love going to the grocery store, getting strawberries, but when it comes to eating a strawberry, there's nothing better than a wild strawberry right off the plant, peak of the season, incredible. And so it is with spring water. And in fact, springs, here's the thing, they have no season. Most springs, if they're a true spring, they are fresh, they're flowing year round, and it's like having that strawberry off the plant, carrot out of the ground. Nothing compares. And kind of the neat weird thing about this, I invite you to try this, and I remember hearing about it, that you can drink a pound, like weight of water, weigh yourself, you haven't added. So there's some sort of weird kind of transmutation, absorption, saying you can drink a liter, jump up and down, it's not jiggling in your stomach, it's just straight into your body, total wonderful, beautiful absorption. So that is kind of my penultimate experience. Now, practicalities, not everyone can get out or has access to a wonderful spring nearby you. I highly recommend checking out the website created by Daniel Vitalis called findaspring.com. Findaspring.com, amazing resource. You could be traveling to Germany, let's say, and you want access to spring water. You go to this website and you type in, okay, I'm going to be in Frankfurt. What are the springs near Frankfurt? And they've added not only cold springs for fresh drinking water, but also hot springs as well. So I've added 2 in our neighborhood. So if you're in Calgary, there are 2 on that site. One in just outside of Canmore near Harvey Heights, and then another one in Banff National Park. Those are the kind of my go-to. And if you've never been there, highly encourage you, go check out the website. And if you haven't and you want to join us, Denis and I, we're going to be doing a wild food and water harvesting walk this August. I've gotten a lot of requests for this over the years because I get it, right? To taste wild water. Come back to my herbal hero, Stephen Herod Buhner. In that book, he talks about, drinking wild water for the first time and how transformative that was, because in our culture, society, we have such a fear, especially about wild water, right? Oh, better not touch that water, better not drink that water. So to actually be out in nature, to be out in the wild and allow yourself to know that it's safe and that you can enjoy it is highly transformative. I know so many people that have had their lives changed by going and drinking from that spring. A whole new appreciation for life, your body. You can really create a ritual and a routine with it. Make it a day with the family, right? You're gonna go to the mountains, you're gonna hang out, you're gonna do some hiking, and you're gonna pick up some spring water. You can fill up, glass carboys, small or large. I definitely recommend starting with smaller ones because those big, like 6-gallon ones, you can often find them at the, thrift stores or secondhand stores. Great deal. You got a nice big container, but whoa, once you fill that up, it can get really heavy. So maybe start small, 1 gallon, 3 gallons, and just create a ritual with it, right? And just connect with the earth. It's a wonderful way to connect with the earth and connect with yourself, going to the source, going to a spring, and just taking it in. It is so transformative. Plus the negative ions, right? I mean, you'll be driving along and maybe you get a little sleepy, whatever it is. As soon as you get out there into that environment with the spring, it's just so wonderful. It's so fresh, absolutely incredible. So we're going to keep going. Spring water, it's kind of the penultimate. If you can do it, awesome, wonderful. Of course, there are delivery services. There's bottled spring water available. A lot of that has been processed. Still a great option, especially if you can get the refillable and not the plastic bottles you'll be throwing away. Can be a great option, but nothing beats that raw, that fresh, live spring water. So if you want to join Denis and I, August 26th, I've posted it down below in the Facebook link, and if you're on Instagram, you want more details, let us know. Otherwise, just check out the lightcellar.ca. We'll be doing that August 26th. Now, what about filters, right? There's so many options out there. There are a lot, and depending on your situation, some of you guys live in apartments, some of you live in homes, maybe some of you are renting. What can you do? And I think at the very, 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 very least, even no filter, if you fill up a bucket of water or a container, the chlorine that we have, at least in Calgary and many other places, is volatile. So just letting it sit out, a lot of that can evaporate off, and that's better than just fresh straight out the tap. So you can give yourself a chance for that chlorine to kind of to go off. Because again, I'm grateful for chlorine. It does provide wonderful, pure drinking water or clean drinking water, getting rid of viruses, getting rid of bacteria that could be in the water or through the pipes that get picked up. Its job is to kill and eradicate that. But guess what? The chlorine and its job to kill microbes doesn't stop once you drink it. So as it goes down, it can diminish some of your own gut bacteria, your own microbiome. So at the very least, we want to get rid of the chlorine either by letting it evaporate off, or very simple, there's Santivia filters, Brita filters, those kinds of things can be good in the meantime. But I know I've been chatting with a lot of you guys and you're like, well, but then there's the showering in my skin, it's my largest organ and I just absorb it. Or you got the heat of that vapor and it's in the air and you're breathing it in and your skin's absorbing it. And what about watering your garden? So there are alternatives. We did a lot of research. So when we first started the Light Cellar, we were using 100% spring water, and for years, I've been going for at least 10 years out to the Canmore Spring, almost drinking spring water exclusively. So we'll fill up those big carboys, we'll bring them back, we go every few weeks. That's enough for us to drink, to cook with. I'm not showering in it, I'll admit that, although there was a time in my life where actually I didn't shower. I would only bathe in lakes and rivers. Not so practical now in this stage of life that I'm at now, but for a while that was true. So I would so we go and we gather our spring water, we'll use that for cooking, we'll use it for tea, we'll use it for drinking. And we were using it at the Light Cellar Elixir bar. It was all spring water. But as that picked up, it was like, oh my gosh, here's some more, we need some more. And technically, if you're going into Banff, they say one of the rules, because you're in a park, some of the wardens say, don't gather spring water, it's not allowed. Others are okay with it, just as long as it's not commercial use. Fair enough, right? We actually don't want, breweries or even elixir bars going there, filling up the water commercially. Even though it's a never-ending abundant source, let's keep that wild, let's keep that for the people and for our own personal use. So we started to get spring water in bottles delivered, pretty decent option, but again, in the long term, as we grew, it was unsustainable. So we started to look at different types of filters, and there's lots of options out there. What we wanted was one that was going to be in our home as well as the business, right on the in tap. So it wasn't just right on the sink, and that's the only sink that has filtered water. We wanted one that would cover all the taps of the house. So be that the shower, be that what we garden with, as well as we're drinking, all of it would be filtered. And considering options, there's reverse osmosis, there's distilled. Some of those require a lot of energy. Some of those actually have a lot of wastewater as well. So for every pure amount of drinking water, you've got this huge amount of waste. So we didn't want to go down that path. So what we came across was this company. They've got, I think it's a terrible name. I haven't really told them that, but whatever. What's in a name, right? So they're called the Northern Water Cleaners. There's a little brochure there. And yeah, I've had many conversations with them, and Lauren did a ton of research before we actually chose them as a company. And this was way back when Calgary still had fluoride in the water. And yeah, I'm so glad that we don't have fluoride in the water anymore, and that's a whole other conversation, debate maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of really intelligent people that know that side about fluoride, and even if we clear all that, I'm against mass medication. If you think fluoride is like fantastic for your teeth, there's ways you can get that into your mouth and nourish yourself if that's what you choose. But to force that on every single other person and to put it through water, because how much of tap water actually gets in your mouth, right? So much of it is just for toilet, so much of it's for gardening, so much for washing cars. Why would we put fluoride through all that water? It just doesn't make sense. Anyways, we're not here debating fluoride. I'm glad it's not in our water system. However, in Canada, in Calgary, they're trying to put it back in. Not the best thing ever. So anyways, it's hard. It's one of those elements that was harder to remove than others. And so I wanted to find a filter that actually removed the fluoride as well. So this company, it checked all the boxes in many different ways. It didn't take energy. It wasn't going to waste a ton of water. And it was going to be able to remove chlorine, fluoride, as well as pharmaceuticals, birth control pills. And I just verified it again. I was like, okay, just had this conversation with my friends about, birth control pills, pharmaceuticals in the water system, Calgary, in the municipal system. So if you're drinking tap water, even things like a Brita, it's probably not going to get that out because the city's not getting it out, right? The filters that they have aren't able to get this out. And this system is. So it's called Northern Water Cleaners. If you're inspired, you can check them out. They have a website. You can also give them a call, 403-708-7213. We'll post that down below in the link. And if you're on Instagram, you just direct message us and we can send you that information. Let them know I sent you. It is a very large tank that gets fit onto the inflow of your water, of your house or your commercial residence, wherever you want to put it, and it filters everything, right? And they can tell you all about what it is, the carbon in there, so on and so forth. It has a 3-year lifespan, and the best thing is you actually don't need to buy it. So what you do is you just give it a deposit for the tank, and then you essentially rent it. So it's $50 a month, and you'll have pure drinking water day in and day out. And the average life of the filter lasts about 3 years, and then you can just tap on a new one. So if you're handy, you can do your own install, just like cutting and fitting on the pipe, just making sure it's going through the circuit properly, or they call your plumber if you got a plumber friend, or they can hook you up as well. So Northern Water Cleaners is one that I actually really recommend for a company of providing a really good water filter that checks all the boxes, not just chlorine, also the fluoride. If hopefully it doesn't go back in, but if that goes in, that'll be covered off. But most importantly, pharmaceuticals and birth control, because I think it's one of the most under talked about form of pollution in that we face is our tap water. And again, I don't want to be a water snob. I super appreciate that we live in North America, in Canada. I'm in Calgary. We have beautiful, beautiful, wonderful water. But hey, I think we can make it better. And water is so key. It's so essential to our health and our vibrancy. And we want to try and make it the best ever. So if you got any other comments, just post them down below. Thanks, Lars. Hey, buddy. Haven't seen you in a long time. I hope you're doing well. And I know you're all about the spring water, so yeah, a lot of us are really turned on to spring water and the goodness that it brings. But hey, I know it's not practical for everyone, and there's been stretches of time, even though I've done this for 10, 12 years, going and collecting spring water, and that's probably 98% of what I've consumed for water for the last 10 years. There's periods of time where it's like, we can't get to the mountains and we run out. So I'm really grateful that we've got that filter on our home, so we can cook, we can wash, we can clean, we can water our gardens, do all that with some pure water. So if you got any comments, questions, just post it down below. Wanted to just share that out because it's so important. And if you are in Calgary or in the Canmore area and you want to join myself and Denis Manzer, we're going to do a wild food walk, just with a little snippet on gathering wild water. I know that's a big leap for a lot of people to access wild water. It feels kind of scary. We've always been taught to fear it. And hey, if you find the right source, it is absolutely amazing and transformative. And if you find the wrong source, I'm telling you from experience, I've given myself beaver fever, meaning I've drank from a stream that was contaminated. So you'll learn from me, who has experience, what to look for, when to drink, when not to drink. There's a couple of key things that you got to look out for. All right, we got Marie on Instagram. Thanks, Malcolm. Makes a huge difference to children as they accumulate a long time. Yes, absolutely, right? We bioaccumulate these things that are in the water, in our food. So we don't live in the paradise, the Garden of Eden that we once did, unfortunately. I was canoeing in Clearwater Lake in BC a couple years ago, and it was phenomenal. It's one of the first places I've been where we were canoeing along and we would just dip our water bottle in and just drink straight out of the lake. There's very, very, very few places left like that in the world. It was such a treat. It was so amazing to be able to do that. I mean, sure, we were taking a little bit of risk, but it was a pristine lake where there's no motorboats. Maybe there might have been a bit of kind of bacterial contamination just from animals, from fish, whatever it is. But it felt so good, and we were all good. But not that I recommend that. If you're going to do wild water, spring water is the best from the source. We can literally see it coming out of the ground. You can know what the environment and the source around it. And if you can test it out too, that just kind of have that extra kind of clarity and peace of mind. So anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed. We've just been chatting about water, your options, all the way from spring to different filters. If you just joined in, catch the replay. We also posted a lot of comments down below with links to some of the highlights of this conversation. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and yeah, stay hydrated, keep the water clean, keep blessing that water, give thanks for the water that you have, and always make sure you're choosing the best that you can. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you wanted to take advantage of the discount from Northern Water Cleaners, just give them a call, 403-708-7213, and you can get yourself a discount on the installation. Just let them know that the Light Cellar sent you. Thanks for tuning in. Give this important podcast a share, give it a thumbs up, a like, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you on the next episode.